A journey through Chinese history, from ancient origins to global power. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fascinating journey through time. Today, we're exploring the extraordinary history of China, a civilization spanning over 5,000 years that has profoundly shaped East Asia and increasingly the entire world. China's remarkable story is one of philosophical brilliance, technological innovation, artistic refinement, imperial grandeur, revolutionary transformation, and modern resurgence. As home to nearly a fifth of humanity and the world's oldest continuous civilization, China offers perhaps the most comprehensive window into human social development. So let's embark on this captivating journey through the ages of a civilization whose influence continues to expand across our interconnected globe. Origins and early dynasties. China's earliest verifiable dynasty, the Shang, c. 1600–1046 BCE, emerged in the Yellow River Valley. Though Chinese tradition speaks of earlier semi-legendary rulers, including the Ye dynasty. Archaeological discoveries at sites like Anyang reveal a sophisticated Bronze Age civilization with elaborate ritual vessels, oracle bone inscriptions, China's earliest known writing, royal tombs, and evidence of human sacrifice. Shang society was centered around a king who served as the intermediary between the living and ancestral spirits. The Zhou dynasty, 1046–256 BCE, overthrew the Shang and introduced the concept of the mandate of heaven, the idea that rulers governed with divine approval, contingent on virtuous leadership. When a dynasty declined morally, heaven would withdraw its mandate, legitimizing rebellion. This concept provided a framework for dynastic succession throughout Chinese history. The early Zhou practiced a decentralized feudal system, with the king granting territories to relatives and allies who swore loyalty. However, over centuries, these feudal states became increasingly independent, leading to the Spring and Autumn period, 770–476 BCE, of complex interstate politics, and then the Warring States period, 475–221 BCE, of intense warfare among powerful competing states. These centuries of political fragmentation nonetheless produced China's greatest intellectual flowering. The 100 schools of thought included Confucianism, which emphasized social harmony through hierarchical relationships, ritual propriety, and benevolent governance. Taoism, which advocated alignment with nature's patterns and spontaneity. Legalism, which promoted strict laws and state power. And Mohism, which championed universal love and meritocracy. These philosophical traditions, particularly Confucianism, would shape Chinese civilization for millennia. Imperial Unification and the Han Dynasty. In 221 BCE, King Zheng of Qin defeated all rival states to establish the first unified Chinese empire. Taking the title Qin Shi Huang, first emperor of Qin, he implemented radical reforms, abolishing feudalism in favor of a centralized bureaucracy, standardizing weights, measures, currency, and the writing system, building an extensive road network, connecting defensive walls, early foundations of the Great Wall, and imposing legalist policies with harsh punishments. Though the Qin dynasty collapsed shortly after the first emperor's death in 210 BCE, it established the imperial system that would govern China for over 2 millennia. The succeeding Han dynasty, 206 BCE–220 CE, founded by commoner Liu Bang, retained the Qin administrative structure while softening its harsh policies and adopting Confucianism as state orthodoxy. Undefined. The Han dynasty, particularly during Emperor Wu's reign, 141–87 BCE, saw China's territorial expansion into Korea, Vietnam, Central Asia, and the establishment of Silk Road trade connecting China to Central Asia, India, and eventually Rome. The Han synthesized pragmatic legalist governance with Confucian ideology, establishing the imperial examination system that would, in later dynasties, select officials based on merit rather than birth. This golden age produced technological innovations, including paper, the rudder, and advanced metallurgy. The historian Sima Qian compiled the monumental records of the Grand Historian, establishing China's tradition of comprehensive historical documentation. By the 1st century CE, the Han Empire rivaled Rome in size, sophistication, and power, controlling much of East Asia. Period of division and Tang Dynasty. After the Han collapsed in 220 CE, China entered nearly 4 centuries of political fragmentation. This period of disunion, sometimes called China's Middle Ages, saw northern regions ruled by non-Chinese nomadic peoples, while ethnically Chinese dynasties controlled the south. Despite political division, cultural developments continued, including the spread of Buddhism from India, which profoundly influenced Chinese philosophy, art, and literature. China was reunified under the short-lived Sui dynasty, 581-618, which undertook massive infrastructure projects, including the Grand Canal linking the Yellow and Yangtze rivers, a 1,100-mile waterway that remains the world's longest artificial river and facilitated China's economic integration. The Tang Dynasty, 618-907, that followed, is widely considered one of China's greatest golden ages. The Tang expanded Chinese influence deep into Central Asia, creating a cosmopolitan empire open to foreign influences. The capital Chang'an, modern Xi'an, became the world's largest city with perhaps 1 million residents, including substantial communities of Persians, Arabs, Indians, and Koreans. Tang culture represented China at its most confident and outward-looking. Poetry flourished under masters like Li Bai and Du Fu, whose works remain central to Chinese literature. Buddhist art reached its zenith, while innovations in pottery produced the famous three-color, sankai, glazed figures. Women enjoyed relatively high status, exemplified by the powerful Empress Wu Zetian, China's only ruling empress. Song Dynasty and Innovations. The Song Dynasty, 960-1279, never matched the Tang's territorial extent, but oversaw remarkable economic and technological development. China's first true meritocratic civil service system fully emerged, with government positions obtained through rigorous examinations in Confucian classics rather than aristocratic birth. Economically, the Song witnessed an early form of commercial revolution. Paper money, extensive domestic and maritime trade, urbanization, and specialized manufacturing transformed China's economy. The population reached 100 million, supported by agricultural improvements, including early ripening rice strains that allowed multiple annual harvests. The Song era saw crucial technological innovations including the compass, movable type printing, gunpowder weapons, and advanced shipbuilding. Scientific accomplishments included Susong's water-powered astronomical clock tower and advances in mathematics. Landscape painting evolved into a sophisticated art form expressing philosophical concepts through depictions of mountains and rivers in ink. Despite these achievements, the Song faced military challenges from northern nomadic peoples. The Jin conquered northern China in 1127, pushing the Song court southward. The southern Song maintained a wealthy but reduced state until Mongol conquest in 1279. Yuan, Ming, and early Qing dynasties, the Mongol Yuan dynasty, 1271-1368, established by Kublai Khan, represented the first complete conquest of China by non-Chinese people. The Mongols placed Chinese at lower social status than Mongols and other Central Asians, restricted their access to highest offices, and imposed heavy taxation. However, the Yuan also created a politically unified Eurasia that facilitated unprecedented cultural exchange, exemplified by Marco Polo's famous journey. The Ming Dynasty, 1368-1644, founded by peasant rebel Zhu Yuanzhang, restored Han Chinese rule and traditional Confucian governance. The Ming period saw massive construction projects, including the restoration and extension of the Great Wall and the building of the Forbidden City in Beijing. Early Ming emperors pursued expansionist policies, most notably through Admiral Zheng, his 7 massive maritime expeditions, 1405-1433, that reached East Africa, projecting Chinese power throughout the Indian Ocean. However, later, Ming rulers turned increasingly inward, responding to fiscal constraints, domestic priorities, and fears of foreign contamination. Officials gradually restricted maritime trade, focusing on defending against northern threats from Mongols and later Manchus. The dynasty's isolationist tendencies coincided with Europe's age of exploration, with momentous long-term consequences for global power balances. The Qing dynasty, 1644–1912, established when Manchu forces from Northeast Asia conquered China, became China's last imperial dynasty. The early Qing represented another golden age, particularly under the Kangxi, r. 1661–1722, and Qianlong, r. 1735–1796 emperors. China's territory reached its historical maximum, incorporating Mongolia, Tibet, Xinjiang, and Taiwan. The population tripled to over 300 million, supported by agricultural productivity and relative peace. Decline, revolution, and Republican China. By the late 18th century, China faced mounting challenges. Population growth strained resources, corruption increased, and rebellions became more frequent. Meanwhile, Europe's Industrial Revolution created unprecedented productivity gains that China's traditional economy couldn't match. The Opium Wars, 1839, 1842, 1856, 1860, marked a catastrophic turning point. British forces, motivated by trade imbalances and imperial ambition, defeated China militarily, forcing the opening of treaty ports, territorial concessions, and unequal treaties. Other Western powers and Japan soon secured similar privileges, undermining Chinese sovereignty and imperial prestige. Domestic upheavals compounded these external pressures. The Taiping Rebellion, 1850–1864, led by Hong Xiuquan, who claimed to be Jesus' younger brother, caused perhaps 20 million deaths. The self-strengthening movement attempted limited modernization while preserving traditional culture, but proved insufficient against accelerating Western and Japanese imperialism. China's defeat in the Sino-Japanese War, 1894–1895, demonstrated its weakness against its modernized Asian neighbor. Reform efforts intensified, from the failed Hundred Days Reform, 1898, to the Qing's last-ditch constitutional reforms after 1901. Revolutionary movements led by figures like Sun Yat-sen gained support, culminating in the 1911 Xinhai Revolution that overthrew the Qing dynasty and established the Republic of China. The Republican era, 1912–1949, brought continued struggles. Yuan Shikai's dictatorial ambitions, warlordism, Japanese aggression, and civil war between Chiang Kai-shek's nationalists, Kuomintang, and Mao Zedong's communists prevented stable governance. However, this period also saw vibrant intellectual and cultural developments during the May 4th movement and New Culture movement, which attacked traditional values and promoted science and democracy. The Second Sino-Japanese War, 1937–1945, merging into World War II, brought catastrophic suffering through Japanese atrocities like the Nanjing Massacre, aerial bombardment, and economic exploitation. Following Japan's defeat, the Civil War resumed, ending with communist victory in 1949. Chiang's nationalist government retreated to Taiwan, where it continued to claim legitimacy as the Republic of China. The People's Republic of China. Mao Zedong proclaimed the People's Republic of China on October 1, 1949, declaring, "China has stood up." The early PRC implemented socialist transformation, including land reform, collectivization, and nationalization of industry. The Korean War, 1950–1953, solidified China's alignment with the Soviet bloc, while establishing its willingness to defend its interests militarily. Mao's leadership included ideologically driven campaigns with devastating humanitarian consequences. The Great Leap Forward, 1958–1962, an attempt to rapidly industrialize through massive communes and backyard steel furnaces, led to history's largest famine, causing approximately 30 million deaths. The Cultural Revolution, 1966–1976, sought to purge bourgeois elements from society and government, unleashing Red Guard violence against intellectuals, officials, and traditional culture, destroying countless historical artifacts and sites. After Mao's death in 1976, Deng Xiaoping emerged as paramount leader and redirected China toward pragmatic economic development with his reform and opening up policy. While maintaining Communist Party control, China gradually embraced market mechanisms, foreign investment, and private enterprise. Special economic zones like Shenzhen pioneered export oriented manufacturing, transforming China into the world's factory. This economic liberalization without corresponding political reform was severely tested during the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests, when student led demonstrations for democratic reforms were violently suppressed. Nevertheless, economic reforms continued and accelerated in the 1990s under Jiang Zemin, with state enterprise reform, World Trade Organization accession, 2001, and massive infrastructure development. The 21st century has seen China's rise to global power status. Hu Jintao's leadership, 2002-2012, emphasized peaceful development and a harmonious society, while overseeing continued rapid growth that lifted hundreds of millions from poverty. Under current leader Xi Jinping, 2012 present, China has pursued a more assertive foreign policy through initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative, military modernization, and technological advancement in fields like artificial intelligence and renewable energy. Domestically, Xi has consolidated power, removed presidential term limits, intensified ideological control, and emphasized Chinese sovereignty and national rejuvenation. His anti-corruption campaign has punished thousands of officials while strengthening central authority. Economic policy has shifted toward greater state involvement, indigenous innovation, and reducing inequality through the Common Prosperity Campaign. Contemporary China. Today's China presents striking contrasts and complexities. It is simultaneously the world's largest communist state and its second largest economy with vibrant capitalist sectors. It maintains an authoritarian political system while providing rising living standards for its citizens. It blends hyper-modern cities with traditional cultural values and rural areas where development remains uneven. China faces significant challenges, including environmental degradation, regional development disparities, an aging population due to the former one-child policy, debt concerns, and tensions with the United States and regional neighbors. Its handling of issues in Xinjiang, Tibet, Hong Kong, and claims over Taiwan have generated international criticism, while its economic influence provides significant leverage. Yet China's achievements remain remarkable. It has lifted over 800 million people from poverty in recent decades, the largest poverty reduction in history. Its infrastructure development, including the world's largest high-speed rail network, has transformed connectivity. Chinese companies have become global leaders in sectors from telecommunications to renewable energy. The country has reasserted its cultural confidence through growing soft power initiatives. For its 1.4 billion citizens, modern China offers opportunities unimaginable to previous generations, alongside constraints on political expression and growing digital surveillance. Urban Chinese enjoy sophisticated consumer lifestyles, while many rural residents continue seeking better opportunities through migration to cities. The relationship between individual aspirations and collective national goals continues evolving. Conclusion. From Neolithic villages to global superpower, China's journey through history demonstrates remarkable cultural continuity alongside dramatic transformations. Unlike other ancient civilizations that disappeared or were fundamentally altered, Chinese civilization has maintained distinctive characteristics across millennia, despite invasions, revolutions, and modernization. What makes Chinese history particularly fascinating is this blend of continuity and change. The writing system developed over 3,000 years ago remains recognizable to modern Chinese readers. Confucian values concerning family, education, and social harmony continue influencing contemporary society, despite the 20th century's revolutionary upheavals. Traditional medicine, cuisine, festivals, and philosophical concepts persist alongside skyscrapers and bullet trains. China's historical experience offers insights into universal questions about governance, social organization, technological development, and cultural identity. Its imperial tradition of centralized bureaucratic rule, its periodic cycles of unity and division, its historical position as East Asia's cultural center, and its complex responses to Western led globalization provide valuable perspectives on human civilization's development. Understanding China's rich historical tapestry has never been more important as the country reclaims its historical position as a global power. From the philosophical foundations laid during the Warring States period to the current pursuit of the Chinese dream, China's past continues shaping its future, and increasingly, our collective global future. Thank you for joining me on this historical journey through Chinese history. Until next time, keep exploring the fascinating stories of our world's past.